Welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at the Golf R Performance. You might wonder what's the difference between the Golf R and the Golf Performance or R Performance. Well, this one has 270 kilometers an hour top speed. It has 333 horsepower, which is 13 more than the normal Golf R. The normal Golf R also starts at 55,000 euros, or around about 55. This one, the Golf R Performance, starts at around 58,000 euros. And the exact version that we have right here costs 74,000 euros, or right about 74,000 euros. And you also get a different roof spoiler, which we'll take a look at once we're actually at the back. Let's take a look under the hood, because there's some, well, because we're talking about the engine. So, oh, that's very hot. Under here we have, well, in my opinion, it doesn't actually look great, because you can see the engine completely. There's no cover over it. I would expect for a car that's that pricey to actually have a nice little cover on there. But as you can see, we have a 4-cylinder engine, which is turbocharged, which is also a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, producing 333 horsepower, again 13 horsepower more than normal Golf R, and 420 Newton meters of torque. That's basically it for the engine, and there's not really much to it. It looks pretty decent, but I would like a cover on there. And then while we're talking about the front, let's actually look at it, because we do have the Matrix IQ lights, which are an option you can personally get. We also have a big intercooler down here with some very nice aggressive looking styling. Obviously it's the Golf R, so it does look a little bit more aggressive than normal Golf or the Golf GTI. We do also have the R logo on here. One thing I'm not a big fan of, you have this blue bar going through here, which does look pretty cool. But the one thing that you can't have, well, while having the blue one, is you can't have black side mirrors. You can only get the black side mirrors if you also get this in the front in black, which is the exterior package in black, which would make this black and also that. That's one thing you can't configure to just have this in black and that in blue, so you can't have that. Let's take a look at the side, where we can see we have 18-inch wheels or 19-inch wheels, which have a nice little black rim. You could also get that in gray if you want, and you can see the big brake caliber in blue with the R logo on there, which looks pretty cool. And we also have ventilated discs, which is pretty cool again, and we do have the R logo on here. Other than that, you do have a pretty cool side skirt, which is a little bit different from the aerodynamics speaking terms compared to the RS3 that we had. And the RS3, just so you know, is almost the same price as this configuration of the Golf R. We do have black tinted out windows in the back, and then we also have a fuel tank, which has 55 liters. And if you use the WLTP, you're going to get around 680 kilometers of range, which is 8.1 liters with WLTP. I'm right around 13 liters right now, but that's because I've been driving pretty sporty. And in the back, we do not have ventilated discs. We just have normal discs, which are, well, they're not that useful. On the back, we do have a pretty big spoiler, which is, again, with the Golf R Performance, you get a bigger spoiler. However, I think this is actually the same as on the one that we had on the Golf GTI 45 Club Sport, which we had reviewed around a year ago. Other than that, the first thing you see, which is amazing, is the Akrapovic exhaust, which definitely sounds better than... Okay, that doesn't sound too bad, but it sounds better than that. The Akrapovic exhaust is actually insane, because it costs 4,180 euros extra, which is just an insane amount. For instance, the RS3, the extra sport exhaust system would have costed you 1,000 euros. Before we actually check it out, let's take a look at the trunk. So if you have the seat folded over, you have 1,230 liters, and if you don't have them folded over, 374 liters. One thing you do also see is that you have, a pass-through way, so you can put skis through there or anything like that, which is pretty cool. And obviously you can take out the top as well to get some more storage space in here. But that's it for the back. Let's actually listen to the exhaust. First of all, here is the key. We do have the little R logo on there. Basically looks the same as, for instance, the Seat or the Cupra Leon that we had the exact same, and said you could have customized it a little bit with a carbon back, but that's basically it. The interior, well, you got to keep in mind, we're spending 74,000 euros for this car. and the quality is actually not that great. If you put your hand down, you do have a nice little, I think it's Alcantara, yeah, but up there is already plastic, and then not the best fabric up there as well, and then plastic down here. This is usually standard that you have plastic down here, but right almost above where you put your hand, I wouldn't expect plastic to be there. And up here, this is also not the greatest quality. The seats are very comfortable. They're actually also very good for your side. Your lumbar support is also pretty great. Other than that, it's just normal seats with a nice little R stitching on there. You could optionally also get leather seats. I personally don't like leather seats, and they almost cost you 3,000 euros extra. The one thing I hate, which you can't change, is the piano black. You can't change this. You can only see this car only has 4,000 kilometers, but there's already a scratch in there, and all the little buttons on here, everything is already touched, and it just doesn't look good after time. We do have a lot of touch-sensitive controls. Let's actually start the car up. You can see lots of touch controls. I have become a little bit of a fan of it, but not very, very much. Let's actually turn it off real quick. Because this doesn't feel bad. It does have touch-sensitive controls, so it gives you like a little feedback. But every time, if you're going a little bit faster, sometimes your hand goes around and it reaches, and then the heated steering wheel is right there, and you have to press it 3 times to actually turn it off again, which is not great. Lots of different stuff. We do have a couple of different views in here. You can see, I like this one personally. You can have another one where you have, this one's the best one, the normal one. Then you can obviously have the map in the back, the time. You can just have lots of different views, which is nice with the digital cockpit, also Google Maps and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all wireless. However, as you can see, one thing sometimes just picks up like I'm in Saudi Arabia. As you can see, we're nowhere near in Saudi Arabia, but there's a fuel station there. Another thing, if you have an iPhone over the age of iPhone 12, so iPhone 12, 13, and 14, if you put these in here, it's going to charge at the start. So let's just quickly see that. It's going to tell you, okay, there's a charging, there's a thing in here that's charging. There you go. Mobile phone is being loaded. And then it says, oh, your mobile phone cannot be charged right now. So if you have a phone over the iPhone 12, it is not going to be able to charge, because every single 5 seconds, it's going to tell you that. Another thing that's very annoying, if you put your phone in here, look at this. It's always going to pick up, if you have an Apple Wallet in there, or any prepaid card, or any like Visa card or anything, it's just going to always put this up there, like it's trying to charge something. But obviously you got to swipe it up every single time, because if you put it back in again, it's going to come up with it again. It's like Volkswagen's trying to take money out of you. In here we have a very small gear selector, you have a start, stop, engine, everything like that. Touch sensitive display on here, it's very buggy, it's not the greatest, it's pretty slow, but usually it works pretty fine. There's a lot of stuff which is not the nicest, because sometimes to get traction control off, well, the first time we had it, traction control was nowhere here, so you actually have to like hold it down, and then you have to select your, I don't know how it works now, you have to, there's a couple other things you can actually select, and then you have to drag it in there. It took us like 10 minutes to actually find where the traction control is, but that's basically it. Again, the seats are very comfortable, the steering wheel is pretty cool, we have a great surrounding view, up here again, pretty good stuff. But not that much. You do have this carbon fiber touch in here and a pretty big storage space in there. But it's not what you expect for 75,000 euros or 74,000 euros. There's a very small storage space in there as well. And you also have 2 USB-C chargers, so if the charging doesn't work, you can obviously select that. So let's take the car for a spinny. So we just turn it on, and that's how you do it with every single car. We do have a couple different modes, obviously, which we'll talk about in a second. But the first thing I do want to talk about is just the right quality. We're going to start it off in, let's go into the mode section. So we're going to go into comfort, because we do have a couple of different modes: comfort, sport, race, and individual. And race does have a couple of different secret sauce modes as well. But first of all, the surrounding view is fairly great. You can see everything. It's a practical car. Rear window is big because it's a hatchback, so you can see everything that you need. Steering wheel in comfort mode is pretty light, doesn't feel sporty at all. We do have lane assist kicking in here right now. You can see we have side assist, we have assist, we have the radar obviously detects the speed limit, we have travel assist, we have adaptive cruise control, which is pretty nice, and just a lot of standard features, blind spot mirroring, stuff like that, which you obviously get if you do get the IQ Drive package. If you have the IQ lights, you also have the automatic dimming of your matrix lights, so it dims out the people in the front if they're driving on the opposite way, which works pretty okay. Sometimes you do get people spanging their headlights because they think it's still on, but it's actually off. While we're talking about driving in the comfort mode, it does feel okay, but when the road is pretty bumpy, it's still very stiff, because that's what the car is meant for. It's supposed to be just a track-focused car. But the stiffness you can change if you opt for the extra 1,000 euros adaptive dampers, which in my opinion are not great. You do spend $1,000 on them, and if you go into the individual mode and then you turn it on, you can see the hell? Okay, I guess we can't change anything, it's just individual mode. Wait, what's happening there? Okay, well, you're supposed to be able to change everything in here, but what the hell? Did we break something? Well, you can change it from comfort and up to basically racing, but I don't know, it doesn't seem like it wants to. Okay, well, the damping in my opinion is not that great because even comfort feels almost the same as actual sport. But let's switch it over to, let me just switch it over to, can you put it into individual race? And then we have the special, which you can see is the Nürburgring special, which is basically meant for driving on the Nürburgring. It goes way up higher at up to 7,000, and it also has way more, just listen to that. It has way more pops and bangs, there we go, thank you. Which sounds amazing. Sometimes they sound okay, sometimes it doesn't do them at all, but in Nürburgring it just emphasizes them. It's so much that it does. But the corner handling on this thing is just amazing. I have not had it that it actually did oversteer or understeer. It sticks to the road perfectly, and it's just amazing how you can go through the corners. And it goes up to speed very good as well. 330 horsepower, it doesn't seem that much. It obviously isn't as fun to drive as the RS3, but still it sticks to the corners very nicely, and for such a practical car, it's very fun to drive that. And maybe we can hear it now, if we just go a little bit slower and shift down. Don't know how well the mix it up, you can definitely hear the bangs in there, and the pops and bangs. They are pretty excessive when you're in the Nürburgring mode, so you can hear right here. You can hear a couple of them, and they just pop and bangs. Obviously only if you get the Akrapovic exhaust. I don't know how good the standard one is because I've never actually had it, but you can just terrorize the neighbors if you're a menace like that. But in general, the cornering handling and just the acceleration at the start is just amazing, and then it goes very, very nicely out of the corners, and you can just accelerate very nicely out of it. Another thing that you can obviously get, or another thing that you get with the R Performance is the top speed of 270. We have done the Autobahn video, so you can check that out in the top right corner. And we have gotten it up to 289, as the speedometer said, but the actual speed was right around 280. So it was around a 10 kilometers an hour difference between the the digital cluster display and what the actual GPS speed is, which is fairly good. Also at that speed, the performance of not the performance, but how quiet the car is pretty good. The isolation here is very well done. You don't really hear any road noise, you don't hear tire noise, and just even going at that speed, it doesn't sound bad. It's very, very quiet in here, and it's just comfortable to drive even over a long distance. If you have kids in the back, they can just fall asleep fairly easily. And then if you want to wake them up, you can just do that. Obviously, if you do want to get some understeer or oversteer, you could theoretically press the R button, and then the other special mode is the drift mode, which you can't do on open roads. Sorry about that. But obviously, if you do want to use it, you can, because it is pretty fun, but it's also a little bit hard to use sometimes. And for practicality, obviously, like I said, the surrounding view is great. We do have a returning radius of 10.9 meters, which is good for the car as well. We do also have rear view camera and also sensors all around, so driving in city, it's completely fine as well. You can basically do whatever you need in the city because it's a fairly small car as well, so it does its job. Yeah. For the 0 to 100 test, you actually have to turn off traction control, obviously, to get launch control, which to get it started is kind of hard at the beginning because you have to favorize it and stuff like that. Let's do it. Isn't the greatest, but 4.85. We haven't been able to get 4.48 or 4.46 actually. We did have a slope of 1.3, which is not the greatest, obviously. One thing I did forget to mention is that we do have the Harman Kardon, I don't know how to pronounce correctly, the sound system in the back, or in the front as well, in the whole car, which is 680 euros extra. 680, yes sir. And then we also have, well, it sounds pretty decent. It has 490 watts? 480 watts. It's good, it's decent, but it's not great. It does its job. It's better than the normal one. We do also have cup holders on the sides, which are, well, this is a pretty small bottle, but it fits in there. One thing I'm not a big fan of is that we do have pretty much hard plastic all around here, apart from the actual handle and the Alcantara on the side where the sound system is. For 74,000 euros, I would expect a little bit better on that. The seats in the front, I love how they actually feel. They feel very nice. There's no plastic on here at all, but they do feel pretty cool. We do have two pockets up top and one on the bottom. And we do also have a lot of knee room and also a lot of headroom, so it's completely fine. So kids can sit in here for longer trips. That's also one thing. You do have pretty good reachable isofix points, so these are easy to reach. And the seats are also very comfortable, so you can sit in here for a pretty long time. In the middle, you do have climate control, so you can change the temperature and you can also change the direction, obviously. And you do have two USB-C ports on the bottom as well. Then one thing you do also have is obviously in the middle you have two cup holders and then one for, I don't know. And then we also have the pass-through in the middle, just like we showed in the back, so you can put skis or anything else through there, whatever you want. And that is basically it for the back. So what's my final verdict on the Golf R Performance? Well, it's a great practical car. It's great for long distance. It does have its moments. It does feel pretty cool to drive, and it's also fun to drive. However, I think it's a little bit too expensive. You don't get that great quality for the price. The infotainment display, or the infotainment system, definitely needs an update. The exhaust system is way too expensive, but it sounds pretty cool. In my opinion, I'd rather get an RS3 if you're looking for a car that's, well, it's obviously not as practical, but it's a little bit more fun because it obviously has more horsepower. You could obviously get this for 58,000 euros, but then you have the bare minimums. But let me know what you think about the car in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.